So this is the June 2020 edition of What I've Been Writing With. These are the pens I've been using this month. Not necessarily pens that I enjoy or pens that I recommend, just kind of what's been on my desk. Sometimes that's by plan, sometimes it's just completely incidental, but I have been doing it every month. So check back for previous months if you find this to be even remotely interesting. First up, a pen I've been using a fair bit this month is called the Papermate Profile Elite. It's kind of a standard ballpoint. Maybe it's a slightly nicer version of something like this. This is the Papermate Inkjoy. I bought this because I randomly saw it on Amazon, honestly, but I saw it was a Profile Elite. I've used the Profile before. I saw Elite in the name, and I bought a 4-pack for maybe $6, something like that, and I figured I'd give it a shot. All in all, it's just a standard ballpoint pen. It's not something I would recommend. It's a fine writer, but it's no different than the standard Inkjoy, and it just happens to have a slightly nicer grip, has that rubberized grip, and has this taper to it in the middle, kind of like that tapered waist and a metal clip. This piece up here looks to be metal, but it's just chromed plastic. So it's, I guess, nicer than the standard Profile, but calling it Elite is a stretch for me. So it's an okay ballpoint, but not worth tracking down. The next pen I've been using a whole lot this month is this. I had done a previous video about this a couple weeks ago, and so this is a Twizy Vac 700, not the newer Vac 700R, just a standard Vac 700. I had acquired this used, broken alongside some other pens, and I figured I'd give it a shot and see if I could fix it, because the previous owner wasn't willing to fix it. And I wrote to Twizy. Well, I figured out what was wrong. I wrote to Twizy. They had a replacement part, which they sent me. Cost me a few bucks to ship it out. But now I have a really nice vac filling pen that I got alongside some other pens, which is really great pickup. And I haven't had a Twizy Vac really much in the past. I had used them, but not owned them, just because I have a few other Vacs. I never thought I needed the Twizys as well. And I've really been enjoying this pen. It's a vacuum filler, obviously, which is fun, once every few days when you refill it, but doesn't really matter too much outside of that, except that it has a really nice capacity. It's a nice smooth nib. It's a number 6 size nib. So on the larger side, especially if you've been using an Eco, you'll see it's a larger nib. It's the same nib size as on the 580. And then really big capacity, really nice build quality, and it's a good sized pen. Has a kind of a wider middle section than the standard Twizy Eco or even the 580. And just a fun pen to use, fun pen to hold, has a nice weight to it. You need to open and close it fairly regularly as the feed area runs dry, which is, I can see how some people would find it annoying. I think it's kind of fun because as you write, you could see it going from being a nice, really wet medium to after 5 minutes or 7 minutes, it'll start drying out a little bit. And then you could just open up this back and make sure this valve right here is open and some ink is gonna keep getting down to the feed. If you keep it closed, it will run dry after, like I said, 5-10 minutes of writing. So you could keep it like this with this free flowing, or you can close it and see it diminish over time, which again is amusing. So that's the Twizy Vac 700, really, really fun pen. And if having used this experience, I definitely recommend the Vac 700R, whereas normally I've been telling people to look at the nicer Chinese vacuum filler pens, kind of like the Pen BBS 456 and the Wing Sung, I want to say the 699. I have them both reviewed on Unsharpen, and I think I've done videos about them. And those are about $30. This is about $60. And I was really liking those, but I think I actually prefer this more. I don't know about more for the money from a value standpoint, but I really have been enjoying the Twizy Vac. Next up, I've been using this pen a fair bit. This is the Moonman M2. I've had these in the past, and I've enjoyed them. I've recently picked this one up as well, just I needed another eyedropper for some testing and experimentation. This seemed like a nice pickup. I find this to be a really nice pen for note taking. It's an extra fine nib, but it writes really well, and it's just really consistent, and the nib is smooth enough, but not too smooth, which I think helps, at least helps me for note taking if it's not too smooth. And again, monster capacity, looks cool. For $20, it's a really good deal. But I do, again, I like it for note taking, but I do tend to find it annoying because it lacks a clip and it lacks the roll stop. I know the M2 has largely fallen out of favor as the Moonman and other companies have released newer pens. I think like the Moonman C1 and a few others have really become more popular, but the M2 is a pretty solid pen still, and for about 20 bucks, it's a pretty good deal. On the pencil front, I have been using this. This is the PenTell Sharp, aka the P209. This is a really popular pen. It's been recommended to me many, many times because it's just a really cheap, really affordable automatic, as you could see. I bought it in 0.9 just because it had a crazy sale. There's 2 of them for $5, which is pretty ridiculous. But I've been testing this out in preparation for an upcoming video. So look to see more about the PenTell Sharp. I've also been using this pen. This is one of those like random drawer finds. This is called the Stadler Liquid Point, and this is a needle point liquid rollerball pen. And I needed a red pen. I ran through the drawers, or rummaged through the drawers rather, and I found this, and it's okay. It's a liquid rollerball, kind of an old school liquid rollerball, sort of like a Vision Elite or something like that. And it's not really a pen I like too much, but I've been using it, and again, it has a sort of old school liquid rollerball feel to me. I haven't used those so much in the past couple of years. I tend to go more for a gel pen, and you could see why. This is a pretty nice paper, but it definitely has that sort of that like fuzziness or that feathering to it, which I find to be annoying, but that happens in these liquid rollerball pens. You can even see like the liquid sloshing around in there. It's really a loose water-based ink, and makes a lot of sense why gel is preferable by a lot of people. But it's a nice writer, and it has this just insane yellow and black pattern, which I have no idea what the reasoning behind that was, except again, in a drawer you cannot miss this pen, which is probably why I grabbed it in the first place. Not something I'd recommend or would tell people to track down, but just kind of a weird, fun pen I've been using. And it writes like a standard Uniball Vision Elite, or one of those kind of standard roller balls. If you want a pen like this, I would say get a Uniball Air. They're much nicer and they're fun to use. I've also been using these 2 pens. These are just kind of some random fine liners. I was doing some like journaling and some testing, and I was looking for some fine liners, and these were lying around. I had a bunch of others. These are just the ones I grabbed for the video. The first is a Prismacolor Premier, which seems to be less popular in the fine liner world, but it's been working out pretty fine. It's from Sanford. That's like the Sharpie company. And then I've been using this one. This is a Sakura Pigma, or the Pigma Micron, technically is the name. It's the 0.1 millimeter, so on the thinner side. And this is a fine liner, as you could tell, but it uses a pigment-based ink as opposed to a dye-based ink. So it's really good for art purposes. For my purposes, that it doesn't really matter. I have found that the Sakura Micron or Pigma Microns, which is the official name, I just like them. I think they're really good fine liners, and they just have a nice line, and they are just from like an all business standpoint, they do their job really nicely. I know there's a lot of fine liners on the market, and I find that sometimes it's hard to tell them apart, and sometimes they just feel like fancy markers. But I do think the Sakura Micron set is actually really nice, and for me, worth the money. I just have never had any problems with them, including this tiny little 0.1 millimeter, which is just like really consistent and easy to use, despite being like quite fine, and it's been very reliable. So no problems with that. The other ones like this is still a good one. And Prismacolor is a great brand, right? I forget who officially makes that, but it is definitely a great brand, also made by Sanford, I guess. But the experience with this one has been fine. And again, I have a set of the Prismacolors, a set of the Microns, and a few others, and I haven't enjoyed this one as much. The coloring isn't as good. It feels more kind of watery to me. And then the writing tip on this one's it's held up well, but it's kind of a harder plastic that I don't know, I find to be less comfortable. I'm still developing my fine liner vocabulary, I guess, and figuring out how to talk about those. Haven't really gotten that down fully. So these are the pens that I've been writing with in June 2020. I would say not the most fascinating selection this time. So if you've stuck it out this far, thanks for watching, and check back next month for more on the pens I've been writing with. Thanks for watching.